Welcome back to an engagement now on the disciplined approach to strategy execution. We're going to be borrowing from the work of Chris McChesney together with Sean Covey and Jim Allen called the 4 disciplines of execution. We're going to be deliberate about drawing from this because it affords us a chance to be able to do the things that make all the difference. Do the thing and you will be a difference maker. I want to encourage you to be in this journey and be deliberate about ensuring execution. In Business 2.0, we're talking about the importance of executing strategy. We wanted to be able to take ourselves beyond the conception of strategy. We wanting to be able to say nothing is going to be of any value unless we degenerate strategy into execution. Execution in itself calls for a particular discipline because if we do not discipline ourselves, we will find it easy to go back to old ways before we started on this flick of an idea with a 5-second rule or 10-second rule that came with a brilliance for us. We need to be deliberate about strategy execution. When we do so, we will find a whole lot of things line up with us. It has been 15 years since the book was released, and well over 2,000 organizations around the world have applied the 4 disciplines of execution. And as I reflect on this, it has become so critical to be able to see how we could, in our own environment, be able to see the best that is contained in the application of discipline. We say discipline is a regimen of doing the things that matter without having to have someone watching over us. And that's a crucial distinction because too often we start things but do not follow through. The 4 disciplines of execution challenges us to be able to look into 4 simple things that must be done. First and foremost, we need to focus. Focus is a critical factor in that when we are spread too thinly, we become ineffective. Focus is also what is necessary when we are looking at things in front of us. In a visit with the optometrist, you were asked to be able to focus on particular letters for a period of time. But we also know that focus is the thing that makes the sun rays turn from being just the thing that gives chlorophyll for the plants to be able to grow as well as they should, to becoming a source of renewable energy. Focus is crucial. So now, what the 4 disciplines bring through to us is the necessity to focus on what's widely important. In fact, if I were to be able to use an alternative to WIG, the widely important goal, it would be EFG, the extreme focus goal. Because if you're thinking about extreme focus, it tells you that there are things that you should lose sight of, ignore altogether, much like happens when you watch the predator focusing on its prey. The second discipline is about acting on the lead measures, the things that will assure you the delivery of the goal. It is crucial to be able to pay attention to the lead measures, behaviors that are going to guarantee the execution of the goal. But also keeping score becomes extremely vital. Too often, we do not progress because we are acting in ways that leave us behind because we're not keeping track of our progress. What we've often found in many organizations, for profit and not for profit, is that there is not a discipline of getting together, checking progress being made, the cadence of accountability, is one that says, let's have a rhythm of getting together at set intervals to reflect on our progress. The fourth discipline is extremely crucial in bringing the culture of high performance with learning, because it is during that fourth discipline that you're able to see we're progressing, we're moving forward, or we're not. In the student map, I've provided to you two videos in which we've got Chris McChesney talking through the four disciplines in a nutshell and the application at upper end. We're going to take time on just two of the four disciplines in our time together now. Let's look into the first one, focus on the wildly important. Focusing on the wildly important is about narrowing our focus to accomplishing more by our attention to the few. Having the discipline to pay special attention to one goal at a time. In fact, the maximum we put in terms of widely important is 3 goals. But it is also important to be able to think about, if we're going to be able to fulfill a goal, we need to know where we are. What is our starting line? And we need to be able to work out what is our finishing line. There is no race we embark on without a finishing point. But we also need to be able to ask ourselves, what is the deadline by which things must be done? Because if we do not have a deadline, we will carry on and carry on and carry on. We are sitting right now at a national level 10 years into the establishment of the National Development Plan 2030. But there are very few that have been able to see the implementation of the NDP 2030 because the deadlines were not necessarily established for each one of them. As you think about your wildly important goal or the extreme focus goal, you needing to be able to ask, is it achievable? The importance of asking the question of the achievability of the goal is that it gives the energy to yourself and to the people that you're engaging with. Of course, we've gone through the process, various definitions of what goals get to be executable, and of course, one of those has been the idea of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable. Realistic is what has often been put in place, but I often say that it's important to be relevant. This is a relevant goal should you really be pursuing it. And of course, it needs to be time bound. So, is the goal achievable? Is a crucial question we're asking here. As you will have noted from the video that we presented through to you earlier, there are lag measures and there are lead measures. The example that we're using in here is one of an organization that is looking into its stock turns. And it's saying we want to be able to improve things around our inventory processing. And as we improve our inventory processing, we need to ask, what's our current results and what's our desired result? The accuracy, we're sitting at 95%. We want to lift that up to 98% by the end of the month of July. When we look into inventory turns, we've been having turns of inventory 8 times a year. Well, what if we were to up that and get it to 10 times a year? So the wildly important goal that came from that was one that was about improving inventory processing by increasing inventory turns from 8 to 10 per year by the end of July. Now, there's some key questions that got to be asked in here. And the key question was on each of the identified candidates was, is it a goal that has no unintended negative consequences? Is it a goal that is difficult to manipulate? Is it a goal that is truly achievable? And is it a goal that we can get data on in order to be able to go forward? And as a result of that and the measurement process, it became possible to determine the way in which the organization could truly make the progress it needed. Here we are, and I want you to be able to look into the delivery in a situation where there is a third goal approach that could be put in place that really looked into return on investment from 12% a year to 30% a year, but got to be dropped. Why? Because what was seen as going to be the measures that truly matter was from inventory turns. Think about it and think about yours. The tool has been provided for you to work with. So let's get practical. You have the tool in your hands. I'd like for you to be able to look into what are the leg measures for your team, the leg measures for yourself. When you think through it, it is crucial to be able to indicate we are moving from this to this level by this period. So effectively, the starting point, the finishing point, and the deadline. You need to be able to run through each one of the leg measures that you've put through for yourself and respond on the simple question of, is this something that has no negative unintended consequences? Is it something that truly will be difficult to manipulate, which means no one is going to be able to go into it and at the time of reporting change what was to be said? And then, is it truly achievable? Because when it is achievable, it makes it very easy for anybody that you're working with to be motivated, inspired, and truly engaged. It is difficult to work on a project when you cannot see the end of it. And then, of course, when you can get the data, it is easier to manage. It is easier to monitor and evaluate. So work through that process and see its application. What you do need to be able to watch out for is the likelihood of spending far too much time drafting what is going to be the wildly important goal. You're distinguishing from the pretty important goals to the wildly important goals. It is also possible that you might avoid being frank and open with yourself, or the people that you're working with in the definition of the wildly important goals may actually be holding back. It is also possible to cascade the clones of wildly important goals. So you keep repeating the same thing and just rename it. It's also worth noticing that somewhere we may be engaging and putting in place goals that will have no significant closing of any gap. So it is important to distinguish between the things that are going to be real breakthrough stuff and stuff that you're doing just because it's a norm and nobody is going to be watching. When you're putting together wildly important goals, it is vital to think, is this something I can do something about? And if it is something I can do something about, is it also something that I can also influence and get others to work with me on? Because if you set in place goals that are outside of your circle of influence, you will find yourself disheartened in the journey. You do not want that to be your story. Therefore, look into goals that are within your circle of control, in your circle of influence. And finally, it is important to be able to look into how what you do contributes to the next level of widely important goals. The Oprah-led example that you have a chance to be able to watch takes you through that very process. So, as an example, with the end in mind of being able to grow revenues for your organization by 2 million or 200,000, whatever the number it is that you're working on, you may easily be able to notice that for the widely important goal to be realized, it will require other people to play their part. Working back again, self, team, customer, society. When you're looking into the team, there's a sales team, there's a major accounts team, and there's the IT team. And when we're looking into those three particular teams, in order to realize the 4 million improvement, sales would create 2 million new revenue for the financial year, while major accounts will be looking into improving their revenue from 16 million to 18 million. The backup support comes from IT by maintaining a stable platform with zero downtime. Now, that's really what Take-A-Lot is doing. That's what many other organizations that are facilitating online shopping are doing. So that's an example of a wildly important goal with lag measures. The important thing that I'm wanting to emphasize right here is that every goal will require the participation of more than just yourself. You will need to invite others who will be able to give you an alternative perspective to the thing that you're busy with. The second discipline is really where the rubber hits the road. We're needing to be able to have the discipline of acting on lead measures that will make it possible for us to realize the wildly important goal. Borrowing from Pareto, we get to appreciate that 80% of the results come from 20% of the activities. But what we also know in our own environments is that 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of our customers. And when you look into your own wardrobe, you will notice that 80% of the time you're wearing 20% of what you have in your wardrobe. So what this means is that you need to be deliberate about identifying what are the key activities which, when carried out, will translate into the right outcomes that you're working towards. So let's take time to be able to distinguish between lag measures and lead measures. A lag measure is a measure or proof that the goal has been acted on. The lead measure, on the other hand, measures something that leads us towards the achievement of the goal. So it is a predictor of us achieving the goal. It is also something that we can influence. For instance, if you're about losing weight, you say to yourself, how many kilograms am I going to be able to lose? That's a lag measure. The lead measure, on the other hand, is the number of calories that you consume, the number of kilometers that you run. The exercise is crucial. That's a lead measure. If you're looking into reducing accidents in a manufacturing environment or a factory environment, you'd look into lag measures being the monthly incident report that we get to be able to present in our management meetings. The lead measure, on the other hand, looks into the compliance to key safety standards identified. There may be 8 of them, or it may be just 4 as NOSA presents through to us. If you're wanting to be able to increase store sales, a lag measure would be the monthly sales report. But the lead measure, on the other hand, is keeping track of what products move most and therefore tend to be out of stock. What products get to be turned around more often, and then you are able to set up a special way of dealing with your supplier to deliver at the time that you need your products so that they're not out in the warehouse too long. They're also never out of stock in the shelf. As we work on the key behaviors that will deliver the goal, it is crucial to be able to ask ourselves what could be the activities, measurable activities, which when carried out will assure us of goal attainment. And as we work through those, it becomes also vital to be able to come to appreciate that whatever may be there as a candidate goal requires that we are able to tell whether it is predictive of goal attainment and it is influenceable. Because if we have put in place a goal that we cannot influence, we are setting ourselves up for failure. And that's not going to be helpful to anyone at all. Therefore, we need to check, is this that we're putting in place as a candidate activity and a candidate measure predictive, influenceable, and with data that we can work with? And then we need to exercise our gut check, rank whether this particular candidate activity is going to be able to help us to achieve the goal we've set for ourselves. As you work through the lead measure builder, it is important for you to be able to really be clear what is wildly important to you. What is it that requires your extreme focus so that when you execute on that, it will make all the difference? Start thinking, therefore, about what the candidate activities, those 80-20 principle that we made reference to earlier, 80% of the activities that will deliver the 20% of the results, and the other way around. 20% of the activities that will deliver 80% of the results. And then look into how you will measure those activities. Set a deadline by which things will be done. It is crucial to be able to think through the goals and say, are they predictive of goal attainment? Are they influenceable? And can we get the data on it? Because if we're not able to get the data on it, we're going to be chasing after wild geese, and we will almost be pushing on and following and running after the mirage and never get to realize what we're seeking to attain. The example that has been given earlier helps us to be able to appreciate what having a lead measure that is seeking to be able to bring about an improvement on revenue numbers through increased units of shoes that are sold per transaction from 1.7 to 2.1. What are the things that need to be done? In that example, we got to be able to see that by offering instant credit to every one of the customers that are coming through, afforded the chance for the organization to be able to improve its sales. Being suggestive to everyone, all of the people, you show them at least 4 pairs, affords the chance that on those 4 pairs, there will be a shoe pair that is chosen. But also, it is useful to be able to think about the importance of going all out to the customers and making sure that there is a thank you note that comes after they've been with us. Whether this is done by email, in these days of WhatsApp, it could very well be a WhatsApp message that is sent through. After all, we take the customer's details during the session that we are with them. So follow up with a note back to them. And then there is the reference that came through in there, which looked into pre-sale emails that are sent out. We're operating in an environment where virtually everything is done virtually. That being the case, therefore, when we send correspondence to our would-be customers and we follow that through with the activities that we want to be able to see done, we will be able to monitor the progress with the customer step by step by step by step. And as you work through those, it gives us a chance to be able to identify, okay, well, so what could be the lead measures I need to pay attention to? According to that example, it was being able to show 4 pairs of shoes to every client. Second, it was to be able to offer instant credit to every one of the non-instant creditors. And finally, to be able to send email to every customer that has come through, walked through our door, and they get to be able to feel that they are treasured throughout. And that really is a thing that we can do in our own environment. Whether we're dealing with things that are for profit or not for profit, There's nothing stopping us being suggestive in terms of people engaging with the things we do, sending correspondence to them before they arrive and after they've arrived, if they have become part of our universe, as it were. But a thank you note is the stuff that gets our customers to feel like they matter. So what do we need to look out for? Sometimes we could confuse lag measures with lead measures. It is important to be able to look into, it's not measuring after effect, but measuring before the work is done. Paying attention to the detail about what will make the goal achievable. If we're able to look into things that will also leverage our activities in a manner that takes us to getting to where we need to go to. For instance, in a sales environment, one of the key leverages is knowing my customer base. If I know my customers, what I send through to them is going to be customized, to use the term. But more importantly, it will be responding to their specific needs. And when I do that, I will be having somebody thinking, you have thought about me before you sent this product to me. It is important to also pay attention to, as you're picking up your lead measures, choose the ones where there is data available to work with. It is also vital to make sure that you have lead measures that can be measured. You also have lead measures that will make people have to account for the delivery. I think it's important to be able to look into the end and say, lead measures are the things that will make the lag measure possible. So do not rush into, I will achieve goal such and such, without stating, these are the things I will do to achieve goal such and such. The video I've shared with you from Opryland helps us to be able to appreciate how it is possible to put in place widely important goals that touch in the workings of many other units, as it were. In fact, as you picked up from the video, Opryland is pretty much a state in itself. It's a county in itself, or it's a district in itself, a city in one. But let's look into another example right here. We want to be able to see that the wildly important goal with the lag measure are linked to the lead measures. The example that I have on the screen for you to be able to pay attention to is one that is about growing company revenue by 4 million. We spoke about it earlier on, and it addressed itself into 3 key departments playing a role in here. The sales department creates 2 million new sales. The major accounts brings about another 2 million by going through their major accounts revenue and really revisiting what it is that's being done there. While on the other hand, the information technology department makes it a point that their customer loyalty is enhanced by maintaining a very stable internet network platform. So let's look into some of the lead measures that are considered. From the sales team that is seeking to be able to bring about 2 million in terms of revenue, lead measures they looked into was to sign contracts with 3 qualified partner sellers. Okay? And when you've got such in place, it makes it possible to be sure that you are definitely going to be able to realize that. So you've got salespeople that know their work. You grow outbound calls through qualified leads from 200 to 250 per week. That tells a story. It's going to be done. When you look into major accounts, one of the key examples that comes in there, ensuring about 70% of all calls meet the consultative call standard checklist. So you actually convert what could appear to be a cold call into a warm call. From the IT's perspective, what they decided to be able to see as crucial is to ensure that the crew is available on all shifts. That's what we attempt to be able to do even right here at Gibbs, to ensure that there is somebody within the IT team that will keep Aspire on track, and you can get the things that you're looking for when you want it to be on the program. We want to establish a baseline, and that baseline is something that we pay attention to. So the final activity that I'm challenging you to be able to engage with in mind the fact that you're not going to be able to achieve everything by yourself, is to be able to start thinking, which other units can assist me in getting the work done? Which means you now take on the role of being the leader. Leadership is about influence. You need to think about who can you influence to be able to work with you towards the realization of the goal that has been set. Having got that in place, you start looking into your own team, if you have a team, and who will do what by when. When you are clear about the beginning point and the end point, and then the finishing line and the deadline, it becomes easier to be able to put in one page the work that needs to be accomplished. So, working through then, and I'm asking you to be able to take some time to draft your own week flow chart. The flow chart for the wildly important goal being attainable. Again, returning to the example of growing revenues by 4 million, when you noticed what the sales team could present, what the major accounts team could present, what the information technology team could be able to present, you realize that goal attainment is a collaborative effort. We will engage a little bit later together and reflect on the things that need to be done. But I want to encourage you, as you watch through Chris McChesney sharing with you the 4 disciplines in a nutshell, and also the example of Opryland, to think about what could be the wildly important goal for you. 2, 3 maximum. And then, having identified what those goals are, check what are the behaviors that will take you to the realization of that. Because if you're not clear about the lead measure, the lead activities, chances are you will have excuses upon excuses and upon excuses. I know excusitis is a disease in our country, but I would not want that to be the story with you as an alumnus of Gibbs. There is therefore a necessity for you to be clear about the measurable behaviors which, when carried out, guarantee goal attainment. And then it is crucial to be able to think about, how do you keep score? We behave differently when we know that what we do is put on the score and others can see it. Move from the balanced scorecard to a compelling scoreboard. A balanced scorecard is good as a management tool for you as a manager. But if you wanted to engage others and get them fully engaged, you need a scoreboard where people can look at and they can see. And finally, it is crucial to be able to establish a rhythm of accountability. When we get together again the next time, we will want to be able to review this conversation around how you create the rhythm of accountability inside your own. In fact, you can do this even with yourself, just as one person. What goal did I set for myself? Where am I against that goal? It is crucial to be able to keep that in focus. What does it look like on the scoreboard? And then plan for the week ahead. Take everything in weekly chunks, and you will be able to realize the goals you've set for yourself. It has been an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to work with you in this module. I trust that the insights that have been shared with you become things that you can adopt and use in your own environment. And as a result of that, you are able to be the change you desire in the world you're in. Remember, it's about purpose before profitability. Profitability feeds in the realization of purpose, but purpose first and then profitability. Of course, impacting the world will ensure we have a sustainable business.